And they're highly trained because they're deep in the Taylor Swift lore, as we all learned on the Eras Tour. But they've also been around since she was on MySpace to watch it happen in real time, because it was cool to have a street team online back then. So are they Easter egging TS12? If she's given them permission to, it's going to be extremely smartly placed if they are. And
let's remember that Taylor dropped Midnights on the 12,000th day that she had been alive. So people were expecting maybe she was going to do something on her 13,000.
Wait a minute. Is Taylor prepping for a new album with this countdown? Some fans believe so. Check out some solid theories in this video.
What do I really think is going on with these listening parties? Fine. I will give you a video that isn't laced with sarcasm. But I am a Virgo, so I might have to have a little bit serious voice. Could these listening parties actually be leading to something? Yes. Is it possible it will lead to absolutely nothing? Yes. Does that something that may or may not happen have to happen right after Reputation's listening party? No. Does Taylor Nation do Easter eggs? Yes. Are they different from the ones that Taylor Swift herself does? Yes. Does Taylor Nation Easter egg a brand new album before Blondie gives them permission to? Probably not. And that's because Taylor Nation is its own micro company under Taylor Swift. Think of them as like a department. No pun intended. Meaning they have one primary goal: to promote the Taylor Swift brand. Have you noticed that Taylor Nation very rarely, if ever, does any type of crises control? How many times has something bad been happening in our community and Taylor Nation does absolutely nothing? That's because they are not her crises management. They are there to promote the Taylor Swift brand. Good, you're catching on. And they're highly trained because they're deep in the Taylor Swift lore, as we all learned on the Eras Tour. But they've also been around since she was on MySpace to watch it happen in real time, because it was cool to have a street team online back then. So are they Easter egging TS12? If she's given them permission to, it's going to be extremely smartly placed if they are. And we are going to ignore Folklore and Evermore for this conversation because they were created basically in a vacuum. Folklore and Evermore are not your typical albums, and they were not created during a very typical time in the music industry. The music industry did not just change because of the pandemic. It was also changing target demographics and dealing with the advancement of technologies. So while Folklore was created with a very, very tight circle, Taylor Nation egging Wreck My Plans from Willow before we got it is probably because she gave them permission to. Because in order to promote what's next, they have to be briefed with materials on what to promote. Meaning they probably had a teeny tiny glimpse into Evermore before we did. Folklore, again, different story. But I digress. Timestamps and hashtags and little things that add up is very in character and on brand for Taylor Nation because it helps them promote the Taylor Swift brand. And they also know that we, the fans, will absolutely look into that stuff, which in turn promotes the Taylor Swift brand. But the more concrete Easter eggs about the content of the next album is gonna come from Miss Billion Dollar CEO over here. And not just TS12. That counts for any brand new content coming from Taylor Swift. Debut TV, Eras Tour documentary, so on and so forth. And you know what I haven't seen yet in this Taylor Swift countdown thing? Taylor Swift. Although she did just appear in the birthday picture with Selena Gomez, and I find that timing very funny. But if anything, this is to continue the 2025 trend of getting us excited for something. For example, if they have been briefed with materials that an Eras Tour or re-recording project documentary is coming down the line, then they will be given permission to poke the bear and make sure her fans are excited for something and paying attention to their socials. Does an announcement or release have to come exactly after that? No, it can be within a certain time range as well. But if Taylor's marketing team has decided that there's nothing new to promote, then they're tasked with fan engagement so that Taylor doesn't constantly have to actively promote herself. Taylor Nation was made to promote the Taylor Swift brand so that Taylor doesn't have to. So that is why in my videos I always say it could lead to something, or it might not. And no matter what, because she's Taylor Swift, whatever she does will sell, especially post-Eras Tour. Why? Because she's Taylor Swift, and the Eras Tour was much more than a trending fad. It was actually socially, politically, and economically important and impactful to the entire globe. Love her or hate her. So that's why I'm down to clown for anything. So when Taylor Nation does something seemingly random and then continues in rapid succession like this, I pay attention.
You are not going to believe what I just figured out. So if you've been following along, or if you haven't, on July 17th, Taylor Nation started a countdown from 13 by hopping on this trend that started on Twitter about Taylor's 13,000 days on Earth. Let's remember that Taylor dropped Midnights on the 12,000th day that she had been alive. So people were expecting maybe she was going to do something on her 13,000th day alive, and it turns out maybe she has. So We had this post. We didn't know it was the beginning of a countdown, but we learned that it was. Because the next day, she told us to check out the new updated Eras Tour archive site to celebrate her first 6 eras. And then later that day, she welcomed home Debut and had a streaming party at 1 p.m. And then she also had a lyrical reference here to a track 12 on Debut. So people started to notice that there seemed to be maybe 2 countdowns. And that pattern continued the next day, when she asked us to welcome home Fearless, and the streaming party was at 2, and the post was at 11 in the morning. And then this continued with Speak Now at 3, and then also today with Red listening at 4. Here's the Speak Now post, and then here's the Red post. So I started thinking about like a countdown from 13 and a count up from 1. What does that look like? When do they intersect? So I made this. So July 17th, we had 13 days of TS. July 8th, we had a track 12 mentioned, Debut at 1 p.m. And then July 19th, the post was at 11, Fearless listen at 2 p.m. On July 20th, the post time equaled 10 and Speak Now at 3 p.m. And then today we had a track 9 mentioned in the post and Red was at 4 p.m. So if we follow that pattern, this is what's going to look like, and it's going to end on July 29th. So what jumped out at me is that it all adds up to 13. 1,300 days of TS. We start with the 13th, track 12 and 1, that's 13. 11 and 2 is 13. 10 and 3 is 13. 9 and 4 is 13. And all of these add up to 13. 8 and 5, 7 and 6, 6 and 7, 5 and 8, 4 and 9, 3 and 10, 2 and 11, and then 1 and 12. So she could go through all of her eras and have listening parties going all the way, but then there's a problem. To complete this set, there needs to be a 12th album. But there is no 12th album. Guys, I have been definitely thinking that this was leading up to an Eras Tour documentary or a vinyl restock, and maybe that is all it is. Maybe it's going to stop at 6, and this means nothing, though still, when we get to 6, on the 6th day and the 7th, that still adds up to 13, okay? But why would we stop that countdown at 7? We need a 12. And Taylor has been giving us 12s. She gave us 12s in her letter. She gave us 12s in this post for Selena, whose birthday is tomorrow. She gave us a 12 in her Back in the Office TikTok, the last TikTok that she posted. She gave us a 12 in the I Can Do With a Broken Heart music video. It's there. That blue sign says A12 and A16. It will also be her 16th album. It all adds up to 13. And we have been getting so many rumors about this next album. So many leaks that are out there, from her being in Sweden to the Swedish musician saying he'd worked on the album to things this week all over Twitter saying, oh, her album's going to sound like this, it's going to sound like that, from sort of semi-official sources. There's just like too much in the air. Her album 12 is coming. This is for sure, I think, what's next. But does this really mean nothing? Taylor has been egging that 12 is next. And now we have a countdown to 12 from 13. You could also say that it started on July 18th and it's from 12 to 12. It works that way also. But we need the final 12. Are we getting the final 12? Are we getting the announcement? I don't think she's dropping anything that day. But are we getting the announcement? As always, let me know what you think in the comments.
So Swifties are back to speculating on whether or not Taylor is prepping for T12. And I can't lie, some of these theories are definitely sounding solid. But then again, it could be anything. We'll just have to continue to keep our eyes open on Taylor Nation. And speaking of keeping our eyes open, check out what Adam Sandler and Jelly Roll had to say about Taylor in the next video.